Hey everyone listening to the We Are GAMRs Podcast. This is Lawrence from the podcast, giving you a special mini episode, so to speak, of the Gamers Podcast. As some of you may or may not know, on Tuesday, Shin Sangoku Musou 6 Empires, or Dynasty Warrior 7 Empires, received a demo on the Japanese PlayStation storefront. So those of you with Japanese PSN accounts will be able to download this demo. What this demo gives is a little bit of a teaser for the game's Create a Warrior and Edit Mode, allowing you to get an early look of how the Edit Mode operates for Dynasty Warrior 7 Empires, ahead of its Japanese release by a month and ahead of its United States release by about 4 months. So, with that in mind, I myself have a Japanese PlayStation Network account, so I decided to run through the Dynasty Warrior 7 Empires demo and compile a little walkthrough to help people understand how the demo works and what options it gives you for your created officer. The first thing I want to say is, for those of you who know me, I don't have a capture card. So what I did to get these screenshots that I used for this video is, in the demo itself, on any Create a Warrior menu screen, you press the PS button on your controller to bring up the cross media bar, and you scroll over to Photo, and under Photo should be the option to save screenshot. So you are able to save in-game screenshots of your characters at will at any menu, at any point in time of your creation process. So what I just did was use that up about 20 something times and came up with the screenshots I'll use for the rest of the video. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the first screen that I want to go over is the name editing screen. Now, for the name editing, they have 3 sets of Japanese kanji for your name creation. The 4th row gives you the English letters, capital, lowercase, numbers, punctuation. It gives you different letters like that, or different, you could say, Arabic numerals and punctuation marks and etc. The one limitation I will say that the demo has, because of, I'm guessing, the kanji meaning, like one whole kanji means one whole word, is that you only have 6 character spaces on your name. So by using the English letters, you're kind of limiting yourself for the demo purposes. I'm sure this will be fixed come final release, but as it stands now, you only have 6 character spaces for your character's name. So for now, just make liberal use of the spaces, or just leave it blank, because none of this will mean anything when the game comes out, unless they make a US version of the demo for the United States gamers and the Europe gamers to make their own created officer and then bring them into the game itself, because these characters will transfer to the final game when they come out for Japan. The next screen I want to go over is the editing for the head. Now, in this game, they added different options to edit the character's head. Like, now you can edit the hair, you make it different colors. That's still there. They added, looks like, more options to the hair editing. And they added eye editing specifically, has the biggest improvements. Because now you can edit where the eyes are on the face, how scrunched they are, how wide they are, if the eyes, are squinty, if they're open wide, and even you can give the eyes, both eyes, 2 separate colors to give the character a heterochromatic look to them, if you want to say that. So that's a little bit of, that's something I'll cover a bit more in depth later. But on this screen, you can see that you can edit, the top option, the very top option, is male or female. You switch that left to right, that switches male or female. The option I have highlighted, the second option, is to edit the hair. As you can see, you see a little color palette, a little color square there in the center that has L1, R1. That's how you edit the color of the hair now. Or pretty much for everything here, you edit the color by clicking L1 or R1 to slip through the different colors. And you see a square button prompt. The square button prompt, what it does in this is it brings up a list. So instead of you scrolling through each hair individually, like just going left or right and scroll through the hair, you can now press square to bring up a list of the hair and then scroll down the entire list until you find the hair you want by name or number. Underneath that is face editing. And for the face editing, as you see, there's a color square there. That color square determines the entire character's skin tone. So that's where you would edit the character's skin color if you want to, give them a darker complexion or a lighter complexion. That's where it would be. You have 3 preset faces, and I'll cover what you can edit on that in a later portion of this video. The next option is I believe that's the eyebrows. The third option. So you can edit the eyebrows, what type of eyebrows. You can give them a unibrow if you want. You can edit the eyebrows pretty much completely by pressing square as well. Pressing square on any of these options also allows you to adjust different portions of that option, so to speak, like height, width, depth, different things like that. So for the eyebrows, it would adjust things like the angle, how far up they are, and different things like that. The fourth option is eye color, or I should say editing the eyes entirely. That I will also cover more in depth on a later portion, because those two between the face editing and the editing of the eyes is a whole different subsection to itself. The option after that, after the blanked out option, that option would be to edit the nose. So that would allow you to, fix the nose up, make it bigger, wider, smaller, thinner, stuff like that. The option after that with the pink palette square, that option is to edit the lip color and the lips themselves. So you can edit the lips, and also if you press square on that, it allows you to adjust the angle, stuff, just different things that have to do with the lips themselves. And the color just gives them lipstick, or just changes the natural tone of the lips. The bottom 2 sections underneath all of that editing are the 2 accessory spaces. The first one is to edit facial hair. So you can give them like a mustache, a beard, like a Guan Yu looking beard, Zhang Fei looking facial hair, different things like that. That's the first accessory option. The second accessory option has to do more with facial accessories and hair accessories, like eye patch. You can give them scars, face paint, tribal paint, different things like that. So that about covers the basics of the character editing for the head. Now, this screen is what I was talking about in regards to the face editing. This is the main screen for the face editing. If you go to the section that I said that covers the face, and you press square, this is what will come up. This allows you to adjust different things like the width of the cheeks, how sunken in they are, the chin, how does the chin go, how far the chin goes down, how far the chin goes forward, how small the chin is, the cheeks, how far they puff out, how sunken in they are, the forehead, different things like that. This allows you to pretty much make the character's face your own and what you want to do with that character. And you can choose from the 3 presets they give you, and you can completely just go to town on the 3 presets and then just make the character his own unique personality and make him pretty much your own unique character that you envision him to be. This screen is the eye editing. So when you go to the if you go to the eye section and you press square, this will be what comes up from that. You can edit, as you can see, you can edit the 2 eyes as 2 different colors. L1, R1 colors the right eye, I believe, or the left eye as you see it, and L2, R2 covers the left eye or the right eye on screen here. The options for the eyes include the angle in which the eyes are looking, so if they're looking up, looking down, if they're looking a little cross-eyed, if they're looking to the left, to the right, if the eyes are squinted or not, or wide open, how wide the actual pupils and irises are of the eyes, different things like that to really kind of tweak the character's face to your liking. Now, the female editing has its own options, where if you go to edit a female officer, that grayed out option, or that blacked out option, I should say rather, that you saw earlier becomes available, and that's because that's eyeshadowing and eyeliner colors. So what you do is you go to that, and the default option is none, but if you select it and go through the options, you get different eyeliners, and the color box will appear for that as well. You can also press square on that section, and it pops up as well underneath the eye editing for the female officers. So if you wanted to, you can edit it from there, or you can edit it from the basic menu using one of the default templates just to edit the color. Alright, now the next thing to cover is the body type editing. The body type editing in this one is more in-depth than before. They give you a few options from the looks of it. As you can see on the top, there's no slider on the top option. That's because that's your basic body templates. Kind of like how, think of it before, how they gave you skinny, you know, big, stuff like that as your character templates. They gave you that back, and now you can edit it more in depth. So once the top slider adjusts the size of the head on the character's model, the slider after that adjusts the height of the character in general. It just adjusts the height of the person. So if the higher you make that, the higher they will be as a person, and their figure will be more in line. The slider beneath that one is the arms, how long you want the arms to be. So you make that slider go to the right, the arms will hang lower. The slider beneath that, I'm not mistaken, adjusts the, I want to say, the thickness of the character, if I'm not mistaken. So if you adjust that a little bit more, you can make the character skinny, or you can make the character, you know, husky, or, you know, pretty much, you could say either muscular or pretty much fat, if you want to call it that way. And the bottom slider adjusts the leg length of the character. This is a little different from height, because the height on the second slider adjusts the character's model in general, and especially the torso, makes that taller, or it makes that bigger, while the leg length just affects, obviously, the legs. So if you're adjusting height and everything, then you would I would rather, in my opinion, would use the second slider than the final one, because the final one just adjusts the legs. The female characters have another slider, which adjusts the chest size of the female officers. So if you're into editing that, there you go. There's an option for that in this game too. Now, after you go through all of that, the next thing we get to is the clothing editing. Now, the clothing editing is basically the same as Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires, whereas they give you the clothing and you just pick and choose what you want to mix match and everything. They give you some items for Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires, as well as some new clothing items, especially some new head items I've noticed, for like what you wear on the top of your head, like helmets or hats or stuff like that. One thing that they did change though, which I like, is you can now press square on any of the clothing options, and square will bring up a list. So if you know the clothing item by name, you can look it up by name rather than by just appearance. So if you're looking for a specific clothing item and you want to remember the name of it, you can now hit square and it'll bring up the whole list of items for you to look at. So that's a nice feature that they added to make the clothing editing a little bit more convenient. And also another thing that they added for the clothing editing is that they added the Kingdom of Jin as a color choice. So now you have Wei Blue, Wu Red, Shu Green, Yellow Turban, Yuan Shao Yellow, Dongjua Other Officer Purple, you have Other Officer Black, and you have Jin's like blue. So that's a little nice touch to, you know, acknowledge the Jin Kingdom's presence in the game. Now, then after you get the character's clothing set up, the next thing you want to do is adjust their weaponry. Now, because of the two-weapon system of Dynasty Warriors 7, they found a way to implement that into Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires and the Created Officer, where it doesn't become something intrusive. So your character can actually be a master of two weapons in a sense. So if you go to the weapon selection, you see that you have your options. The first option allows you to choose your weapon. As you scroll left or right, you can choose your weapons, or you can press square to bring up the list of weapons. Now, two things I want to go over here. First thing is, if you press triangle on this screen, if you press triangle on while you're highlighting the weapon selection, then you'll be able to pick the weapon and have all of its moves carried over to your character. So if you select the weapon using the triangle button, and you scroll through the list and you pick the weapon, you get the weapon, the EX move, the Musou 1, and the Musou 2. If you don't do that, then you can go on to edit your Musou attacks. So after you pick your weapon, you don't even need to use the Musou attacks that weapon has. You can pick a weapon that you like and then pick two Musous that you like, completely separate. So if you wanted to, you can pick, like I have displayed here, Suma Shure's new lightning sword, if I wanted to, I could have Sumishire's new lightning sword here, but have him with the Musou of, let's say, Wang Yi's Musou and Lu Bu's Musou 2, if I really wanted to. And you can mix and match the Musous with the weapons now. It's a nice feature because it allows you to keep in mind that some characters don't have Musous that match the weapons entirely, or some Musous completely do away with their weapons, like Zhu Rong's Fireball Musou attack does away with her weapon entirely, so it removes the limitation of needing to use that weapon for that Musou attack, so you can really customize the created officers to make them more unique. After you're done editing the character's weapon and the Musou, we go to the voice editing. Now, from what I counted of this list, there are 10 voices that you can choose from. And the slider allows you to adjust the pitch. You move it to the left, the voice gets lower, move it to the right, it gets higher. Same Dynasty Warriors formula, it's worked all this time, so why change it? The voices aren't bad, so you get to preview them by pressing start. And I forgot to mention this for the Musou editing, but you can also do that for the Musou. So, and in this case, it's all in Japanese, and I can't understand Japanese, so this helped me a lot. You'll be able to press start on the Musous and on the voices for you to be able to preview what that, like, the Musou is or what the voice sounds like. So that's something to keep in mind while you're doing your Musou editing and your voice editing. Now the last thing to edit will be your abilities and your tactics. Now, from what I understand from me tinkering with this, the first option tinkers what type of character you are, what type of stats you're going to start with. Similar to Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires with its setup, if you're going to be a general or a strategist type that has more life and defense, and it adjusts things according to that. The second one, if I'm not mistaken, adjusts your tactics. Now, unfortunately, I don't know how to do tactics in Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires. I don't know if you can do them in this yet, in this demo, but it adjusts your tactics, and that's what it gives you as your tactics adjuster. So, after that option is done, you go to the bottom, you click the bottom option, press X on it, it should give you the save overwrite screen. Say yes, and then it'll bring you to this screen, which is your end result right here. Now, on this screen, I'm going to go over a few of the options that this gives you here. So, this screen, if you press triangle on this screen over a character that you made, it brings up this, which is the deletion screen. I don't understand Japanese, but roughly translated, this probably means, are you sure you wish to delete your officer? The option I have highlighted is no. The option to the left is yes. So keep that in mind when you're making your created officer. If this option pops up, if you press triangle on your created officer, and you see this option, keep in mind that the option that's highlighted by default is no, and the option that's to the left is yes. So just in case, you know, if you delete anyone by mistake, then this will let you know. This is just to, you know, keep that in mind for you. And the last thing I guess there is to go over is the new NPC editing, which from the same menu, if you press start, then it brings up the NPC editing. Now here's my main created officer that I made before I did this recording. That this will show you which the NPC listing of the game, which officers don't have a dedicated model to them, which officers are what we would call the generics of the game. In this menu, you select any officer from this list, and your created officer will take on that character's identity. So even their name will change to that character's name. So after you do that, that means that in the Empires mode of the game, then that character will take the place of that NPC during Empires mode. So you can pretty much have an army of created officers take over the NPCs in Empires mode. So this adds a little bit more of an interactive touch to the Empires games, because now you can make Empires mode your own dream mode. You can make let's say a Heijin model yourself. You can make a Yan Liang or Wen Chao model yourself. You can make all these different models yourself through the created officer, and you can make them all a little bit unique with the different weapons and the Musou styles and everything you can do. I mean, granted, it'll be the same as the officer they're taking the style from, but you can make them more unique by giving them the different Musous to go along with it. So this is where you can pretty much insert your created officer into the Empires mode as a staple, so to speak. And for anyone wondering, the female officer gets the same treatment. So you can make any Dynasty Warriors NPC a female officer to your liking through this option. So if you want to change history a little bit, you can make Yan Liang a female officer if you really wanted to. I don't know if this is going to affect any pronoun references, like if they're going to refer to Yan Liang as a he or anything like that. It's too early to tell since we don't have any Conquest or Empires mode gameplay available for us to see that with. But that's a little fun thing to think about and to tinker with when the game comes out. The last thing that the game allows you to do is after you create an officer and you are at the main menu for the Creator Warriors, is if you press square, it allows you to go to a mock battle, which is a 5-minute battle, very quick. You can run through it pretty fast. Gives you a bunch of enemies. Xiahou Duan is the enemy officer. Shu Shu is your commander. You run through the enemies, you can test your weapon styles and test every weapon in the game except for Xiahou Ba Siege Lance. Xiahou Ba Siege Lance is the only weapon that's not in the game, but every other character's weapon is represented in the game. So if you wanted to test out the new Lightning Blade EX attack, the new Boomerang EX attack, the Moonblade EX attack, or if you didn't get the DLC for Dynasty Warriors 7 or 7 Extreme Legends, this is your opportunity to test out those weapons. You can download the demo, to go into a mock battle, and then just test out each of the weapons. So, with that being said, I'm just going to end the video showing off the 5 created officers that I made using the Dynasty Warriors 7 Creator Warrior demo. And with that, hope you guys enjoy and happy creating.